Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Good evening or good afternoon where you're at, and welcome to the second stream for inSAIght. So, just for someone who is checking the archives for the first time, what is inSAIght? It's just going to be a regular chatting stream that focuses on one specific subject and one specific subject only. And in there, we get to talk about my experiences about the game, and we get to talk about other people's experiences, if available. And maybe we get to learn something new when it comes to our some of our favorite franchises. So for today's inSAIght episode, we're going to split it into these following parts. So like last time with the Vocaloid episode, we started with personal experiences, how I got to know the game, and how I managed to get interested in the game. Then next up, I'm going to take a look at some of my favorite characters in the franchise. Then afterwards, we're going to take a look at some of the stories that I would definitely recommend for anyone who wants to experience the game for the first time. And then last but not least, we're going to check a little bit of the music. Some of the music we are probably going to play on stream, and some of the music we can't play on stream, because especially when it comes to the character albums, because when it comes to the character albums, they are there is no YouTube music version of the character albums, and we don't want to get into copyright issues, so we don't want to get into trouble. I forgot also as well, we're also going to take a look at the game itself while we're talking about the personal experiences as well. So please look forward to that. Anyway, without further ado, let us begin our first topic of discussion, which is personal experiences. Okay, so from what I know, the game debuted back in 2014. I barely had any idea when it comes to mobile games. I didn't play very much mobile games outside of Idolmaster, Cinderella Girls Starlight Stage. Funnily enough, it's also partly owned by Cygames, who developed Granblue Fantasy and a lot of other mobile games at the time. I was not familiar with Granblue until I got to know a very, very close friend of mine who used to be a streamer himself, but he's not streaming anymore, and he's basically focusing on his educational life. So I wish him the best, and he was the first person who actually introduced Granblue Fantasy to me, because he and a number of his friends, part of the Northern California fighting game community, they were interested in playing Granblue Fantasy, and they are always in a group together, grinding for the nearly monthly Unite and Fight. So what Unite and Fight is basically you have a number of crews that battle against each other in order to get the top score, depending on the enemies that are available with each Unite and Fight. And it usually focuses on one specific element. We're going to talk about the elements in a little bit, but regardless, he did talk to me about the characters, and he did tell me how much he liked the story a lot compared to, the competitive part of GBF when it comes to Unite and Fight. And afterwards, there was this announcement that came in Granblue Fantasy Festival, which is, it's usually a gathering of Granblue Fantasy fans that happens nearly every year in December. Usually at the end of the year. It doesn't have a specific day on December. It could be like early December or late December. This year is going to be on the 23rd and the 24th, so next week. So during that, they decided to announce a couple of spin-off games that were in the works. The first being Relink, which took so many years of development and is finally coming out next year. And Granblue Fantasy Versus, which was, a fighting game. And considering how said friend that I talked about earlier and myself were very interested in fighting games, I thought, oh, hey, this looks pretty good. When I watched the first trailer, it looks, wow, this looks amazing. Who developed this? And I find out that it's Arc System Works, the same people who worked on on Guilty Gear and BlazBlue. So I thought, oh, okay. I need to get familiar with those characters. I need to know who are these characters. Who is that round-haired kid in the armor, and who's that cool lady with the knight armor and the rapier? I need to understand who they are. So my friend eventually told me that if you want to get into the game, you'll have to wait until the roulette is announced. So what is the GBF roulette? The GBF roulette is something I don't remember which year it started in, but it's usually a roulette that gives you free rolls, basically. You don't have to spend any of the in-game crystals in order to do a roll. You just spin the wheel and you get free rolls from 10 to 20 to 30, even a rare 100 to even 200 rolls. And that usually is defaulted by on the last day of the roulette. So that was probably the best time in order to start in the game. Free rolls always feel better. Yeah, definitely. Also, forgot to say, welcome, Alex. Hope you're doing well today. But yeah, there are a lot of free rolls that you can get, and especially when you're starting, you need to get those good units, the SSRs. You need to get some of the best units out there, because later down on the line, when you continue playing the game, you're going to need them. You're going to need them because some of the raids that you'll eventually be able to participate in, especially when you reach above level 100, yeah, they require some pretty good characters. So yeah. So the roulette in after the end of GBF Fest 2018 is where I actually started playing the game. So basically, at the beginning, I just didn't have any idea of what are weapons and what are grids, and why should I make a grid that's focused on one element, and basically I didn't know how to actually play the game. But with fortunately, I managed to have a few friends to help me out and give me important tips in order to build a proper grid and to have the right amount of characters. Today's cleaning day, so you basically keep me company while I'm at it. Oh, okay. Good luck with cleaning, by the way. Always nice to... Cleanliness is the... What was that saying again? Cleanliness is holiness? I'm not sure. But it's something good, anyway. Yeah. But yeah. With the help of a few friends, and the fact that you don't need to play the game on a mobile phone. Yeah, it's a browser game. You can basically play and do all your raids and read the story and do everything exactly like you could do on the phone. So that is making it very convenient. No, I can't say that word. It's a little too complex. Being convenient. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. ESL issues, I'm sorry. But yeah, being very convenient in like wherever you can go. Like you can do this like at home or at work or whenever you feel like. You can just play it on your Chrome browser, just as easy as that. And you can come back and go forth whenever you want, as much as you feel like it. The fact that you can play in a browser actually seems so interesting. Yeah, I know, right? That's how I still got to play the game until now, compared to the other MOBAGEs that I tried before. Like the aforementioned Starlight Stage and School Idol Festival, Love Live School Idol Festival. I played them for a little bit of a while, but then I was like, No, I'm too lazy to play on my phone. I'm too lazy to play on my phone. I don't want to let my phone's battery die so quickly from just playing a game. Oh, for Starlight Stage, I did play for almost a year and a half. A good amount. I think my account is still active, so maybe one day I'll check it out. Who knows? But yeah, it being very convenient is makes it very easy for me to come back and forth when it comes to the game. Anyway, so since we're talking about the game, let's look at the game itself. Now, just a moment. Let's move screens for 1 second. Here we go, and let's get the game up. Here we go. How's the game size? Does it look readable enough? Does it look good? Let's get the audio going on here. Just a moment. Here we go. Audio's here. Can you hear the audio, by the way? The music, by the way, isn't usually this dramatic. It's because I played the recent story chapters. We're going to talk about the story in a little bit, but the recent story chapters were pretty serious, so that's why the background music is also a little serious. Oh, I noticed that the audio is muted. Hold on 1 second. There we go. It should be working now. Okay, let me turn the BGM off. There we go. And here we go. Yeah, it should be working now. I think you can hear the BGM right now. You want me to make it a little bit louder? Then sure. Make this a little bit louder. Just a minute. There we go. That's because I'm trying to play it via a browser. Okay. So I think we should be fine right now because I'm seeing it on my OBS. It's looking okay. Yeah, I can hear the music. Okay. So, as you can see here, this is the basic screen, right? This is a basic screen. You have the quests, you have the party, you have the upgrade, and you have the draw, which is, of course, the gacha. So, let me give a slight basic gist of how this game basically works. Let's go to party. And let's check on one of my squads right here. This is my water squad at the moment. So we have a water squad that's specifically focusing on one element. In the game, there are 6 different elements. You have fire, you have water, you have earth, you have wind, you have light, and you have dark. And each element has a weakness. So, for example, fire. What's the weakness of fire? It's water. What's the weakness of water? It's earth. What's the weakness of earth? It's wind. What's the weakness of wind? Fire. So it goes in a cyclical fashion when it comes to element weaknesses. So these are the basic 4 elements. Now, you may be wondering, what about light and dark? So light... So they basically just counter each other. Light is stronger than dark, but dark is also stronger than light. I know it might be a little confusing, but once you get to play the game a little bit more, you will understand it a lot easier. So basically, for your party, you have 6 characters in your party. The first character is obviously the main character, which is, depending on your choice, it's either the boy, who's Gran, or the girl, who's Jira. And then you get to pick 3 other characters who will be in your front line, and 2 other characters who will be in your back line, just in case if any one of them dies or gets killed within battle. So, there is quite a number of classes that are available for Gran and Jita. Let's take a little look. Here we go. The class that I have here is a class 5, which is Mana Diver, which is a combination of 2 previous classes. I believe Sage and Aspirus, I believe. But once you start with the game, you're going to focus on the first class, the first row. You're going to start with stuff like Fighter, Knight, Priest, Wizard. Character art is pretty cool as well. Well, the thing is, the main artist of this who worked on this game is the same one who worked on Final Fantasy Tactics. That's why if you ever played Final Fantasy Tactics, you'll notice that the art is very, very familiar. Nowadays, there's a whole team of artists that are working on the game, but he is still currently working at the company. So basically, you start with a number of classes. There's a lot more than that, but for some reason, I cannot scroll downwards on the browser source. I don't know why, but there's a lot more classes than the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you see here. And once you level up your character, your character, be it Gran or Jita, you get to move to the next row. This is row 2. There are each row, when you move onwards, becomes even stronger, and you get even better skills for your character. Then you have level 3, which, as you can see, the art changes and becomes. You can notice that either Gran or Jita look a lot more powerful compared to their earlier works. Then we have class 4, as you can see, there he is, Berserker. So we started from the very simple looking fighter, which is with the default outfit. Now we move into Berserker. And recently they added class 5, which requires a combination of 2 classes from 4, and you need to reach master level for both. So I didn't unlock many of them, but I did unlock Viking, which is honestly for the grind that you have to do in order to get this class, it's pretty good. There are also extra classes that have nothing to do with it, nothing to do with the previous ones, but have very specific uses. So, for example, we have something like the Alchemist, which focuses on basically potions that may heal or do damage. There is Gunslinger, which basically only uses firearms and has a special system where you need to use bullets. I never got to use that class a lot. It's slightly complicated, but there are character specialists when it comes to using Gunslinger. And of course, like the other classes, there is a level 2 for these. There is, of course, the evolution of Alchemist is now a Doctor. So a Doctor has, like, for example, better healing skills. And Kengo is a class that allows you to have 200% of your Ogi gauge, which is in simpler terms a super meter. So that means you can do your Ogi or your super twice. So yeah, there is quite a lot to consider here. Let's move back and let's look at the grids. So here are the grids. This is how a basic grid for water looks like, or at least my grid. Probably not the ultimate, probably not the most optimal, probably not the most optimal way to have a grid, but it does show that once you have the right amount of weapons and the right amount of skills that help enhance your attacks or help enhance your, for example, multi-hit attacks, or it gives you more HP and so on. Let's take a look at one of them. For example, let's take a look at this one here. This is an angelic weapon. So this is a seraphic weapon, sorry. And this one can be used in order to bump up your damage, for example. And it has other skills as well. I can't scroll at the moment, unfortunately, but yeah, that's like a simple, simple and basic idea on how it works. Gunslinger class always seems cool. Basically bringing guns in a knife fight. Yeah, there are also other classes where you can use guns as well. So definitely before you actually get into the class, a little bit of research in finding out which class would be most appropriate for you would probably be for the best. But once you're starting, you just need to focus on getting your level 1 classes into level 2 and level 3 and so. Okay, so we saw the weapons and saw the grids. Now we also have summons. So summons help complement your grid, either by providing more attack, or providing more health or more defense, and so on, or maybe giving you some sort of a buff for a limited while. So yeah, that just is basically the gist of how you get to play the game. It's not very, unfortunately, it's not the best explanation here, but this is just basically the idea of how you get to build your grid and how you get to use them in battle. All right, so I guess we're gonna stop looking at the game for a little bit. Let's get back here. All right, so now let's move on. Let's move on to our next part of the stream. Just a moment. And here we go. And whoops. There we go. And next up is favorite characters. So we're going to talk a little bit about the characters. Let me get the BGM back on. I'm going to talk a little bit about my favorite characters who I got to like and appreciate throughout the years. And maybe eventually you'll probably like them too once you get to start playing the game. So first off, I'm going to talk about Catalina. Catalina is basically the big sister when it comes to the main group, or like the main Grand Cypher crew when it comes to GBF itself. So I'm going to talk about the main story in a little bit, but basically in the main quest, you start the game with either Gran or Jita, and you have to rescue Lyria, who is we're going to see in a little bit, who is probably the blue-haired girl that you've seen in the stream's thumbnail. And you have a little buddy who's with you, who's V, who is also the small, tiny little dragon who's your buddy since childhood. And then eventually get to meet Catalina, who's your first member of your Grand Cypher crew. So as you can see, Catalina has a very simple design, but it's also not bad to have a simple design, but which looks very effective. It looks very pleasing to the eyes, to say the least. And it's not just the design. Basically, throughout the main story, Catalina herself kind of grows as a character. And I don't want to spoil too much about the main storyline, but there is a part where Catalina is in some kind of a flashback that is sent by her primal beast. I won't say who the primal beast is because I don't want to spoil. Her primal beast, and basically gives her the will in order to protect Lyria and continue on to help out in Gran/Cheetah's journey. And yeah, honestly, I feel like she definitely is an excellent character who supports everyone and just like is very serious. She knows what she wants to do, and she knows what's important. It's protecting Lyria and helping Gran/Cheetah reach to the to Eostasia, which his or her father told them to go to. And unfortunately, I'm trying to hold back on mentioning this because these things happened on the recent batch of main story chapters that came out just a week or so ago. But yeah, it's there were some interesting developments when it comes to Catalina, at least. Gotta appreciate the tummy window. Yeah, there are some quite interesting amounts of fan service when it comes to both males and females, to say the least. Anyway, related to Catalina, we're going to take a look at the next character, who is Vera. Okay, Vera, to say the least, if you're going to take a look at Vera from the first look, you're going to say, oh, this is the yandere character, isn't it? And yep, you're absolutely right. She is the yandere character. And since I mentioned she's related to Catalina, she is obsessed over Catalina. Well, at the beginning, of course. During meeting her in the main storyline, she always has this kind of a possessive emotion when it comes to Catalina, especially when the Grand Cypher crew visited where she lives in Albion. And Vera and Catalina were, during the academy days, they were like very close with each other, because before that, Vera was kind of a very lonely person. She never had any friends. She was just reserved and doing her own thing. But then Catalina approached her and became a rival, and eventually she became infatuated with her. And she became so infatuated with her that he eventually managed to have nightmares of her obsession, and she was slowly but surely losing her sanity. Yeah, she was almost gone. She almost killed Gran / or Jita, depending on who you're using. She almost killed them because they took Catalina away from her. And you might think that, okay, she got defeated, and in the end of the day, they managed to teach her a lesson, and she might go insane and then becomes a bad guy, right? No. Fortunately, she is tied with a primal beast. So what is a primal beast? A primal beast are the beings that are stronger than the other races that are available. I'm going to talk about the races of the Granblue Fantasy world eventually when I talk about a little bit about the characters. But Vera is bound by a primal beast known as Luminera, or in Japanese, Chevalier. So eventually, once she was almost losing her sanity, Chevalier then decided, all right, hold up, I'm going to have to take over. I'm going to have to take over and help you get your sanity back in check. And thus, we have her grand version. So I forgot to mention this. There are two types of SSRs. There are the regular SSRs and grand characters. Grand characters are like super special, super amazing versions of characters that either are debuted in the story mode or have an evolution when it comes to their story, or they are like super strong primal beasts. Like before in the grid that I showed you, before we went to the characters, there's one character on the left who is kind of a tanned, who's kind of a tanned seafaring person. That's yeah, that's a type of grand character. I forgot about his name right now. Holy moly! But yeah, that's a good example of that. So anyway, as you can see over there, you see these floating bits over there. These are bits of Luminera or Chevalier, and of course, thanks to regaining her sanity, she managed to gain a new weapon, which is a spear. So now, once you check her story, you get to see like now she's no longer an obsessive, wild character. She's now a lot more sane. She's a lot more calm. She's a lot more mature. Although she still has that inkling of obsession when it comes to Catalina, but it's not to the point that she becomes insane or anything. So yeah, I'm basically saying pretty much the gist of her character evolution, but I would definitely recommend if you eventually get Vera, and well, her many versions, we're going to see in a little bit, you're going to see how much character development she got compared to her appearance in the story mode, and eventually when it comes to her other versions. Speaking of Vera's other versions, Vera has the honor of having a version of herself for all 6 elements. So yes, fire, water, earth, wind, light, and dark. She is probably one of the few characters, and maybe even the only character, who has a version in each element. And that's just a testament of how amazingly popular she is. So what we saw this version of Vera is dark. This one over there, the Grand Vera, is light. And next, this is Summer Vera, who is fire. Yeah. I forgot to mention also, now that while we're at it, there are seasonal units. You're going to find summer units, you're going to find Halloween units, you're going to find Christmas units. These are the 3 main seasons in which you're going to see a lot of characters that have specific releases on those occasions. And some of them are very, very, very good. So they really want you to get spending that gacha during those seasons. And then next, people love their yandere. Can't blame them. Yeah, of course, they love them. And then we have this. This is Water Vera, but technically it's not Vera. It's Lady Caterpillar. Why is Catalina now a mech? I'm going to explain that in a little bit later. And then next we have Wind Vera. Why is there a Vera as a mech? I'll explain about that later as well. And then we have a very special Vera. And that came from, that's only available from the Blu-ray release of the 2nd season of the Granblue Fantasy anime. Unfortunately, we could not get that version of Vera on the mobile game unless you buy the Blu-ray, sadly enough. But it definitely does look very good on her. And by the way, this element is fire. However, we do have another Vera that also is fire, but came during Valentine's of last year. So now, technically, mobile game has a Vera for each element. Yeah, it's pretty impressive to say the least, but there is no denying that Vera is probably one of the most popular characters in the franchise, and well, I can see why, and I can see why I like her a lot, because she is just not the usual yandere. She is a character who manages to go beyond the stereotype and has development. She has development. She is now like a person, a better person. So I think a little bit unhinged here or there. All right. Next up, we have this mountain, this amazing mountain of mass known as Vasaraga. So who is Vasaraga? Vasaraga is one of the members of society. They are a group who are specifically called out in order to fight against specific rogue primal beasts. Yeah. So why does Vasaraga look like this is because of that big scythe that you got right there. As you can see, the big scythe right there is a little bit cursed, right? It causes a lot of damage to Vasaraga himself. Like, he can basically try his best in order to control himself from the weapon, and unfortunately, before he managed to get the scythe, he used to be like this very dark, this very angry person who committed so many sins and basically felt like he disappointed so many people back in the past. But now, fortunately, he is now with the society and he is in a much better place. And once you get to know him, you get to know him in the story, he's a very kind and very gentle man. He doesn't intend to like hurt anyone or do any harm. And he has this very cool relationship with Zeta. Zeta is the blonde-haired spear wielder in the society. They have a very nice back and forth when it comes to their banter. So, if you're wondering if he's going to look like this in his other versions, no. There is this Earth version where he doesn't wear the armor, where he basically loses the armor, and basically looks like this. Slightly terrifying. You might think that this guy is a monster, he's out to kill you, but no. Nah. He's just a guy who's just trying to move on from bearing his sins and trying to be a better man and working together with the society in order to, help keep balance, to say the least. All right, let's see who's next. Next up is, here we go. This guy, Grimnir. This guy is the ultimate Chuny. But here's the difference between him and other Chunies. He actually has the skills to back it up. So basically, in media, Chuny characters are basically just, I have this secret power and look at my eye, and they do all these cool poses and everything. And they don't have anything, right? They're delusion. They're Chunibyo. But this character, Grimnir, he is Chunibyo, but has the skill to do it. He is also the apprentice of one of the 4 main archangels who were part of the Skydom, who is this gentleman here, Raphael. He is the archangel of wind. So he is usually his protege, and basically he is trying his best in order to stop this goofy ass kid from trying to show off and then trying to goofily say, oh no, I was trying to be cool, but I wasn't very cool at all. Let me try to give you a sample of his voice. Hold on. Wonder if you can basically listen to it on stream. So I can hear how silly this fella is. Let's see, hold on. Alright. let's hear the basic line here. This is his traditional line that he always introduces himself. I heard that? There is so much energy when it comes to this dork. And in the end of the day, once he realizes that he was kind of a dork, he just says, "Oh no, I'm so embarrassed. I was trying to be cool." And once for example, he's trying to tag along, and when you add him into the party, this is one of his lines. You hear that? You hear that? He sounds like a child who saw a new toy for the first time in his entire life. It's truly amazing. I love this idiot. And I have to give the special shout outs to, like I mentioned yesterday during my Granblue Versus stream, to Megumi Ogata. She had so much fun when she voiced this boy. She has so much fun. And I think probably she mentioned that I had the most fun voicing this character. I think she mentioned before on her Twitter that she said she had the most fun voicing this character. And I can't blame her. All of the lines that she delivers are truly gold. And you don't even need to understand Japanese. You need to understand how enthusiastic she is when she voices Grimnir. And just for a reference note, Megumi Ogata is a very long-time seiyuu, and one of her most famous roles is Shinji Ikari in Evangelion. So, and she also basically voices a lot of the male characters compared to the usual female characters. So yeah, she is pretty much a veteran, and you know, she is part of why Grimnir is probably one of my favorite characters in the game. This goddamn dork. Anyway, next up, let's move on to one of the Jutenshi, or the Eternals. So, who are the Eternals? The Eternals are 10 warriors who have the most powerful weapons in the Skydom, and they're the only ones who can get to use them. Well, eventually when you get to play the game, you will be using them as Gran or Cheetah, but they are very, very strong characters, and they are not to be messed with. And especially this guy here. This is Octo. He is known as Eta in the English version of the game. And for some reason, they decided to name all of the 10 Eternals with old English versions of the numeric system, while the Japanese version actually had a different number based on a certain language. So this little guy right there, this is the leader. His name is Uno. Right? His name is Uno in the Japanese version, and Uno is can be used in both. I believe it's used in Spanish, but it's also used in Italian, I believe. So we have Uno, but in the English version, he's named Andre. And then we have another character who is this one right over there, right on the left. I don't know if you can see the mouse on the screen. I can see it here. One of them is called Salasa, which is 3 in Arabic, but in English he is called Trio. So I'm so confused on why they decided to change the names when it's so cool in having each name representing a number from a different country around the world. Never understand it. Mouse is not showing on the screen, unfortunately. Okay. Hold on. Let's see. Can we have the cursor here? Let's see. Can we show the cursor? Hold on, just a moment. does it seem like? So yeah, it doesn't seem like we show the cursor. Anyway, so octo is as in 8 in Greek. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's exactly right. Octo is 8. He is the 8th member of the Eternals. But surprisingly enough, he has this amazing kabuki design, which I really like a lot. So the basic thing about Octo is that he is like a roaming swordsman, right? Octo is probably one of the most powerful swordsmen in the world, and he is undefeated. He's like truly the best of the best. And basically, he just loves to fight. He loves to fight with the swords, and once you get to level him up, and for example, get into him to a level 4 or a level 5 with his uncaps, he manages to use his hair in battle. Do you see how massive this hair is? It's not for show, no. He uses his swords, but he also fights with his hair. And it shows, and it goes to show you that he is so sharp that even his hair can cut people off. So that's kind of, that's honestly kind of impressive to say the least. And eventually in the story, Octo managed to also adopt another Eternal, who is this little munchkin here. In Japanese, she is named Funf, while in the English version, she's named Fifth. So basically, now he's kind of an adoptive father to this young Eternal, and also has who also has a rivalry or a relationship. Sorry, not a rivalry, with one of the other characters in the game, Narmaya. I think she is related to him. I think she is. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I believe Octo is her grandfather. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that they are related, but I might be wrong about the grandfather bit. But regardless, I think he's probably one of the most badass designs of the Eternals. Definitely one of my favorites, and he's the first Eternal I managed to grind. And let me tell you this. If you look at how much you need to grind the Eternals in order to get them, I hope you manage to do your best when it comes to that. But yeah, definitely an awesome character, and I love his kabuki design. Anyway, next up, we have Rhodia. Rhodia, or basically Alexiel, in the English version. I don't know why they changed her from Brodia to Alexiel, no idea. But I think it's because in Rage of Bahamut, the first game which she appeared in, just so you know, there are some characters in Granblue Fantasy that came from other side games, mobile games, including Rage of Bahamut. And yes, the main, boss mascot is Bahamut, who also comes from the aforementioned mobile game. So Rhodia is basically one of the apprentices of the angels that I mentioned earlier, alongside Grimnir and alongside two other characters, Europa and Shiva. And Rhodia is basically she's basically a defender, to say the least, and it also reflects in her gameplay. She is all about defense. You want to put Brodia / Alexiel in your team because she is going to shield you from everything. And she has a very strong sense of justice, as you expect from someone like her. And let's look at her. Basically, she's a protege of this guy, one of the angels, Uriel. And as you expect, he is the archangel of Earth. So Basically, there's quite a difference between both of them. Uriel is kind of like laid back and kind of like, you know, he feels like, yeah, man, you know what? I'm gonna do my best as much as I can, but I'm gonna be chill about it too. While Brodia / Alexio is a little more serious and a little more like upholding the essence of justice. Also, I actually like her design a lot, so that's one very good reason why. And I like her gameplay too, to say the least. Hopefully one day we'll get to see her in one of the Granblue spin-offs, either Versus or Relink, because I think she definitely does fit in those games. All right. Next up, we have this, another absolute unit. This is Gandagoza. Gandagoza is basically, what if we had someone like Akuma from Street Fighter, make him extra buff, extra massive, but not really evil, right? Like, this guy is all about the punching. He punches, and he punches to whatever his heart's content. And even back in his story, once you uncap him to 5 stars, he basically tries to tap into some insane power where with one punch he manages to destroy a massive meteor that is trying to threaten the lives of the skies. Yeah, he is that badass. He is that badass, and he is that awesome. Like, he is just like terrifying, to say the least. But again, like Vasaraga, he's just a very jolly man. And I'll let this picture fool you. He is a very jolly man. And he loves, like, you know, participating in eating contests, for example. But yeah, fortunately, he is playable in Granblue Fantasy Relink, so I'm excited to have him to play as him in that game. Not sure if he's going to show up in Versus eventually, but I think he's probably the perfect character to show up in Versus, like some kind of a mid-boss character. Because, as you can see, he has that, he has that boss energy radiating from it. So yeah, definitely a really badass character. Next, now those two. These are probably the best duo in the entire game. And that's Storm and Drang. So Storm is the giraffe, the girl that you see on the left. And Drang is the guy on the right with that smirk on his face. So basically, Storm and Drang are two characters who are, I believe, who are mercenaries. They are mercenaries, and they are hired by one of the antagonists who eventually get to be an ally in order to do tasks for them. So with Drang usually has this kind of aloof, kind of goofy demeanor, which contrasts Storm, who is like very serious. She just wants to do her job. She doesn't want to talk about dumb things. She doesn't want to fool around. She doesn't want to joke around. And whenever Drang says something that pisses her off, she just stabs him. And surprisingly enough, he doesn't get hurt or anything. He's used to the stabbing. But to say the least, those two are always a joy to see them. And they even had their own event which focuses on them. It's basically an event that shows how they do their mercenary work. It's definitely one of the events that I really like a lot. Not my favorite, but it's something that I like a lot, and it fleshes both the duo and how fun they are. And let me get this opportunity in order to explain to you the two more races that are available outside of the humans and the primal beasts. You know, these fox-like ears that Drang has, that's called an Arun. And Aruns are usually average sized when it comes to height. So they're sort of similar to human beings when it comes to basic body properties. And on the left you have Sturm, who is a Draff. So Draffs are usually either short females, not very short, not as short as one of the other races that I'm going to explain in a little bit, but they usually have shorter females and really tall, massive males. So let's go back a little bit. Like Gandagoza right there, that's a Draff. Let's go back a little bit more. Let's see. Octo right there, he's also a Draff. Now let's see, who do we have else as a Draff? Yeah, and Vasaraga, he's also a Draff. You see how common these are? So a lot of Draffs in the game, male Draffs, are usually massive. They're units. They're big. And a lot of their females, like as you see here, Sturm and Narmaya, they're a lot shorter. So it's definitely interesting to see these kind of body types that are represented by each race in the Granblue Fantasy universe. Alright, next up, we have Ilsa, who is an Arun. So Ilsa is another character from the Society, who I mentioned earlier, who is alongside Vasaraga and Zeta, Beatrice, and Eustace. So she is the commander, to say the least. She is part of the commanding team of the Society, and she basically is one of the most difficult people to deal with if you work under her as a soldier, right? So she is the epitome of drill instructor. She will insult the ever-living hell out of you if you don't do what she says, or if you don't follow the rules, or if you don't follow the orders that she mentions, especially during training. She is hell to deal with. But here's the thing, though. That's just in the battlefield, and that's when she's instructing like soldiers who are working under her. Outside of that, she's again contrasting her demeanor. She is a very swell person, and she actually wants. And her favorite pastime is like sitting in cafes and eating desserts. Something as simple as that. And even when she meets Gran and Lyria and Vern / V, she's very nice to them. She's ultimately very nice to them. But eventually, when we get to hear more of her story, because once you get characters, you manage to have the stories. You manage to have a little bit of a story when you add a character into your list of characters. After you do the gacha, there is some storyline to go alongside. So basically, yeah, she is actually doing this. She's actually being a super strict person just because she wants her soldiers to take things seriously, not to play around, not to joke around. You don't need to mess around. You just need to focus, because it's life or death. Nothing to play around when it comes to this. So yeah. And another reason, of course, is like her design. Her design is very simple, but I think it's very, very cool, to say the least. It's very, very cool. And eventually, she manages to switch to this outfit. Once we get into the events, There's going to be like, I'm going to talk about a little bit more about the events after this. The design looks so slick and clean. Yeah, I know, right? The problem is that in Granblue there are so many characters that are awesome that I may take like days to talk about all the cool designs in there. And I tried my best in order to get a few of them, or like my utmost few, so that I wouldn't take too long when it comes to talking about them. So yeah, this is Ilsa. She's definitely awesome, but don't try to piss her off when you're a cadet work in the training field, because she is going to destroy you. Seriously. Okay, next up. Okay, so this is kind of a bit of a joke character here. This is Ippatsu. What is Ippatsu's gimmick? He loves ramen. That's it. He just loves ramen. He's a ramen fanboy. He loves everything about ramen. He is not going to save the world. He was not part of a story to save the world. He is not a demigod. He is not the most powerful being in the Granblue universe. He just loves ramen. That's it. He just loves ramen, and he speaks about ramen in the most obsessive way and in the most exaggerated way. And you want to know how he is so awesome despite of that? That's because he's voiced by Norio Wakamoto. There, I told you my main reason. I told you my main reason why I like Ippatsu. It's because he's voiced by Norio Wakamoto. I wonder if I can find some lines for him. Hold on. Let's see. Let me look for Ippatsu for a bit. Hold on. Let's see. Hopefully he has some lines I can use here. Let's see. Okay, let's see if this works.
大将に会うんですからビシッと決めてみましたよ。どうです？気合が目に見えるでしょ。
You see that? See that? That's the impeccable Wakamoto delivery. Let's listen to another one.
道はまだまだ長い。まるで麺がごとく。
Okay, let's hear another one. Let's try this.
鼻をくすぐる芳醇な出汁の香り。
And another one.
ガツンとくる味ですね。
Damn. You know, Wakamoto is now in his 70s right now. And this man can still deliver the most exaggerated lines. I love it. I love it. That's the only reason why Ippatsu is there. And of course, because of the whole ramen gimmick. So yeah, that's Ippatsu in a nutshell. All right, let's move on. Next up, we have Lich. Okay, so Lich is quite the interesting character because Lich before, when she was, or rather it revealed itself in the game, it looked a lot like that image that you see behind her, right? It looks like an actual Lich, right? But eventually, later down in the line, they managed to make a female. I think he managed to give it a female avatar. And basically, I like Lich basically for design alone. Simply. Her personality is kind of like meek and kind of scary. Not that scary, but kind of meek and kind of like nervous consistently all the time. And there is this funny instance that I'll talk later when it comes to the events that is related to Lich, which I found pretty funny. But yeah, I like her simply basically because of her design. Like especially the dress. The dress looks really good. Definitely one of my favorite designs in the game. And I also like her Halloween outfit. Yeah, it looks very nice. It looks very nice. It looks very beautiful. Yes. Yes, it looks very beautiful. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, now we get to look at a character who is the Halloween is very cute. Oh yeah, definitely. The onesie, it looks so good on her. Not gonna lie. Now we're gonna take a look at a character who is one of the other races that I didn't mention, and that is a Harvin. So Harvins are basically the elves in the GBF world. So yeah, they're tiny, they're small, they're not very big. They're all very, very, very tiny people, and of course they have these big pointy ears. But this one, where we're talking about here, is Yodarha. So Yodarha, as you can see here, this is from his rare version. This is his rare version. Looks like a jolly old man who is likes to fish a lot. You notice that he doesn't have any weapons. He only has a fishing rod. He loves fishing a lot, right? He is this cool as a cucumber, uncle or grandpa who just likes to fish, right? There's nothing like bizarre or something special when it comes to this old man, right? Wrong. Because basically, he used to be a very, very powerful swordsman. So eventually, in a series of events, I don't recall what the name of the event is, but he got betrayed by one of his disciples and decided to take up the blade in order to fight against them. And eventually he manages to defeat them. But eventually that disciple comes back, and then he gets to look even more cool. You see that contrast? You see that contrast? We go back at the beginning. See this old man? This old man is just like, he's just a nice, jolly old man, right? And then you get to see this. You get to see him decked in full gear. And then he decided, like, I'm going to protect everyone around me. I'm going to kill or fight that disciple and not allow them to harm anyone again, even if it costs my own life. Damn. You noticed how, like, how this little guy, this little old guy too, manages to develop into this amazing badass that we didn't know, right? They kind of teased it. Before and mentioned, like, oh, this guy used to be a swordsman, but now he doesn't look like he's gonna pick up a sword anytime soon. But you're wrong. He will definitely mess you up. And here's the cool thing, though. He's now playable in Granblue. He's also playable in Granblue Fantasy Relink. That's coming out next in February. So he's kind of a surprise pick compared to everyone else, because he is like one of the characters who's like, huh? Yodarha? Why are we bringing Yodarha in the game? So it's one of these surprise entrants. It looks like an old man you should mess with. Yeah. It's also a good example of appearances are not what they seem, which I find is pretty cool. I like these kind of characters who just initially show that, they're not a threat, but actually, yes, they are a threat. Okay, next up and last but not least, I'm gonna talk about Friday. So, who is Friday? So Friday before she managed to show up in one of the events, Friday used to be the host of a certain type of quest that appears every end of the month. It's called Premium Friday. Usually comes up in every Friday, and you get to do a specific quest where you get a golden fried shrimp. You heard me right, a golden fried shrimp. And you get to use that golden fried shrimp in order to trade it for either more crystals, or you either trade it for a shrimp-based weapon. So this character eventually managed to have a voice and showed up in a couple of events. And she's all about taking care of yourself in the workplace, right? She is definitely like kind of a, what can I say, a motivational speaker, right? She's definitely a motivational speaker, and she loves to like promote proper business etiquette and fried shrimps, which leads us to this. This is Ultimate Friday. This is Ultimate Friday. So Ultimate Friday is basically an April Fool's character that you can manage to get in the gacha. And as you can see in front of you, she is riding a gigantic mech that is made of fried shrimp. Yes, that's basically it. She loves fried shrimp. Oh, you haven't even heard half of what she says about fried shrimp. Okay, let me see if I can try to get some of her voice clips here, if it's available. Let's see. Friday. Let's look for Friday. She's called Ultimate Friday, and she came out in... No, wait. She actually came out on... I thought it was going to be April Fool's. No, she actually came out at the end of December of last year. Wow. I almost thought she was an April Fool's unit. No, it was out that she has been very recently added last year. Yeah, so as you can see, she's very enthusiastic. And she also shares the same voice actor as Vera, which she's definitely not Vera. She's definitely a different character, but it would be funny if one day it turns out that Friday is actually Vera. It would actually be very funny if it happened. But yeah, that is pretty much Friday in a nutshell. She loves that fried shrimp. Every month, she has to consume that fried shrimp and promote it to everyone. Alright, so I guess that should be it when it comes to the characters. It's not everyone, so if you manage to check the character list, there are so many characters in this game. Some characters didn't even get an SSR version yet, and they show up in the story sometimes. But yeah, that's just basically some of my favorite characters in the game so far. And yeah, I guess now we can move on to the next thing. Hold on. Get the characters out of the way. And let's change our topic to story/events. This is part 3 right now. Here we go, part 3. This is part 3. Let's get the events up next. Here we go. So let's talk a little bit about the main campaign, the main story. The story which you get to start once you start playing the game. So up until now, there are 177 chapters that are released. And for a beginner, it might be a little bit overwhelming, but in recent years, they managed to have a story summary or a chapter skip option, where after you finish the first chapter, you can read and watch a gist of the entire previous arcs from chapter 2 to chapter 132. So you can basically do that if you're starting new. It's very short. It's not very long. Checking that summary for the previous arcs. But yeah, that would leave like almost 40-ish chapters that you need to catch up with. But honestly, I know it might be a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, but I can definitely say that following the story throughout the years, I feel like they improved a lot. Like, they improved a lot. Like, the first 30-ish or 40-ish chapters are kind of, you know, it's alright. It's fine. It's very serviceable. There's good development for characters. The art is nice, and so on and so forth. But eventually, things actually ramp up really, really hard when it comes to, let's see, let me remember which arc was it. Let's see, hold on, let me try to remember. I think it's once they reach chapter 55. Around chapter 55, this is where the story ramps up, especially when it comes to the first arc. I feel like around chapter 55, this is where the story ramps up, and it continues to ramp up once the main characters move from to different islands. So I can definitely say that the chapters not being spread so often, right? Because there's like almost every week, I believe, in the old days. Like almost every week there used to be new chapters. But now, in the recent years, there's like a batch of 4 to 6 chapters in the story that they release it every 4 to 5 months. And these batches usually are kind of like mini arcs that manages to continue the story and manages to like keep the person super interested when it comes to the overall plot of the game. And of course, the main plot, to say the least, is basically Gran/Jita. They manage to rescue and find Lyria. They have a number of people join their crew, and they want to go to the island in which his or her father promised to meet them there. And I believe now, with the end of chapter 177, that we are actually maybe reaching the climax of the story. And I would be surprised if they managed to end it soon, because the game has been out for over 10 years now. So next year is going to be the anniversary for the 10th year anniversary for Granblue Fantasy. And it's kind of insane, to say the least. Like, most mobile games are lucky to live like 2, 3, or 4 years, but this game so far is going well over a decade. And honestly, I feel kind of impressed. And I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to try to finish the main story next year or the year after. Who knows? I don't think they'll stop supporting the game because it's giving them a lot of money. They've been going for 10 years now. I'd be very surprised if they decided to stop it, especially when they have so many spin-offs out there and so much merchandise and so much music and whatnot. But yeah, that's just the main story. And I don't want to spoil too much about the main story, unfortunately, because it's meant to be experienced on your own. But basically, what I mentioned earlier is just the gist of it. And if you ever want to play the game, and if you want to ever try the main story, there's a chapter skip until chapter 132. You'll get the basic info, you get the basic gist on the arcs from before. Though I definitely do say experience the whole thing by yourself. You can do that in the journal, and that's where this cute image of Lyria comes from. So yeah, definitely is worth a look because it's getting so much better as time goes by. All right, so after the main story, let me talk some of the events. So this event, What Makes the Sky Blue, which is a trilogy of events that pretty much put Granblue on the mark when it comes to storytelling. It's a trilogy that happened within 3 years in a row, 3 anniversaries in a row. It started with What Makes the Sky Blue, and then we have Paradise Lost, and then we have 000. So the gist of this story is at the beginning you get to fight against an angel, a fallen angel known as Sandalphon. He becomes a kind of an antagonist to you in the beginning. Eventually we get to fight him, and then he gets to be on our side when we get to fight an even bigger villain in the form of Beelzebub and Belial. And, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but it's definitely full of emotional moments. And it also has the award of having 3 different characters who look the same, but all have the same name. Which is why in the English version, they decided to change one of their names. So we have Lucifer, who is basically Sandalphon's, let's say, teacher, I presume. He also, he likes to hang out with him a lot, or stuff happen. And then there is Lucilius, who looks similar to Lucifer, but is not Lucifer. He is the original Astral who created the primal beasts, but they called him in the English version Lucilius. In the Japanese version, he's also called Lucifer, but they called him Fasan instead, because his name is Lucifer. So they decided to call him Fasan instead, so that they wouldn't confuse themselves with the other Lucifer. So yeah, I'm glad this is one moment of the English localization that I appreciate that they did. This one change I appreciate that they did. But without mentioning too much, definitely check this trilogy. It's really good. And it's definitely had a lot of emotional moments and a lot of support characters who show up from other events, including, of course, the main Grand Cypher crew. Let's see what else. What other events? This is a low-key one of my favorite events. Is No Rain, No Rainbow. So basically, it's just most of the Grand Cypher cast trying to take solace with La Diva. You see that very handsome-looking lady who is basically a wrestler who fights for love. And she opens up a bar at the bottom of the Grand Cypher in order to listen to the other characters' worries and basically provide a supporting shoulder to the characters who show up in the story. I honestly feel like some of these low-key relaxing events that does not involve the end of the world or the destruction of the universe as something really pleasing, and that's something that's a good thing that Granblue has with its events. And there's almost a lot of them spread around throughout the year in order to balance with the more serious ones, with the more serious stories. So I really appreciate that. This is probably one of my favorites. And speaking of fun stories, there is a series of stories that focus on the Loane brothers. We have Loane, you see that guy on the right, and then we have Tomoe and Elsa. So they are the chefs in the Grand Cipher. They cook stuff. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because it gives us some of the most funniest moments that we've seen in the game, they have an amazing imagination. So remember when I mentioned the Catalina robot that showed up with Vera earlier, and that Vera with the giant Vera mech? They came from these 4 stories, and from their delusions, to say the least. So it started first with Let's Hang, and then next up is Table for 6. Don't let this fool you, of course. Despite having all these very, very beautiful women there, it is a Loane Brothers event. Then next up, A Walk on the Wild Side. And last but not least, which came out, I believe, this year, is Definitive Dandyism. So this last one that I believe came this year is about Elsem trying to look cool and imagining himself trying to look cool and trying to change his design and trying to look like a dandy character to be similar to one of the characters that show up eventually in one of the other stories. I'm not gonna mention who because it might be a little bit of a surprise, but yeah, basically these 4 stories is just a bunch of bros hanging out with each other and, you know, deluding themselves that they're awesome. Oh, I forgot to mention the guy on the right, who is Loane. He has a one-sided love towards Catalina. And as we mentioned earlier, we know someone else who loves Catalina as well, and that's Vera. So another interesting character point when it comes to Vera, especially when it comes to her growth as a character, she basically does not threaten their lives anymore, or at least not that much when they come close to Catalina. So hey, a character development. But yeah, these 4 stories I definitely recommend because it has so much silly BS in them that you can't help but laugh. You can't wonder, what are these boys smoking? What are they putting in their meals to make them dream and delude themselves to think all kinds of stupid stuff? But you know, they're still lovable goofs, so definitely worth a look. Okay, next up, we have an entire series that is basically focused on society and foe. So society is basically the group that I mentioned earlier that had Vasaraga and Ilsa, alongside Beatrice, alongside Beatrice and Eustace as well. This one is a more serious story. And this is one of these series of stories that are a slow burn, right? They are a slow burn. They start as something subtle, something as like a one-off. But then eventually, year by year by year, they get to be an even bigger story. And that culminated in the 2021 anniversary event, which is Home Sweet Moon. So a lot happens during this. So I can't even begin to explain how much story is there. But it definitely involves people from the moon who crash onto Earth, and definitely has like a rescue of epic proportions, to say the least. I really don't want to spoil this one because it's easily something that can be easily spoiled and can be ruined. So I'll definitely say check it out yourself. Check it out. Check out the Society and Foe events. Sadly, Home Sweet Moon does not have a release on the side stories part of the game, but eventually it will be. The rest is, though. And last but not least is Platinum Sky 2. Why Platinum Sky 2? It's because, well, you remember Wacky Races, don't you? When you grew up with Wacky Races, you know that Hanna-Barbera cartoon which has people with different vehicles trying to race each other in a ridiculous fashion. This is kind of like the Granblue version of this, and that's exactly why I enjoyed this one over the first Platinum Sky. It's basically a racing contest with ships and all sorts of weird mechs that they use. It's definitely like a fun event, to say the least, and it actually manages to keep you excited to see what happens next. But all these stories that I've mentioned right now, they are already available in the side stories part of the game. So you don't need to wait until it shows up as an event later in the year. You can just go into the game and go into side stories, and eventually, you can try out all the aforementioned stories. This is available. This is not yet. This is not yet. This one is. This one is. This one is. Not yet for this one. But all three of what makes the sky blue is already available there. So yeah, you can definitely experience these. Whoops. I'm not going to show these until later. But yeah, you can definitely experience these on the side stories that are available within the game. However, these aren't the only events that happen. Oh no. There are crossover events that happen. So one good example is Love Live. Love Live had 2 crossover events. One that focuses on Aquars, basically from Love Live Sunshine, and one which is focusing on Muse, basically the original Love Live cast. So yeah, as weird as you expect, as in, hey, wait a minute, how are idols going to fight? But they did manage to find a good way in order to have the Love Live cast be playable, and also they are paired as a quartet, as triple characters in one. 3 characters in one. Basically, the first years, the second years, and the third years, just like in the original shows. So yeah, definitely a kind of nice event, especially when it comes to people who love Live, to say the least. There was also One Piece. Yeah, the One Piece collab is real, and it came out during One Piece Film Red's release as a promotion. And yeah, you have the basic Straw Hats as playable characters. Luffy by himself, but you have Zoro and Sanji as one unit, and Nami and Robin as another unit, while the rest of the crew, basically Usopp, Jinbei, Frankie, and Brook, are basically summons. But it was kind of a fun event. It's kind of nice to see the One Piece characters interact with the Granblue characters, because there are some pretty interesting pairs when it comes to this event. This event sadly is not in the side stories yet, but there is one interaction that had Brook trying to be weird with Lich, who I mentioned earlier. I don't know. Maybe you could try searching it on YouTube, but it's pretty damn funny. And of course, yes, he does ask on what her panties colors is, and she gets pissed. Yeah, this is a pretty fun event, to say the least. And maybe I could say I'm biased because I like One Piece a lot. There was also a Code Geass collab. Yeah, there was a Code Geass, but a good chunk of the cast shows up in the collab too, including Jeremiah, aka Orange Good. I'm surprised they managed to put him in the game. And yes, they do reference that. They do reference that meme a lot, but yeah, it's pretty interesting how they actually made Code Geass, the Code Geass characters integrate with the GBF world by having them actually stay there compared to everyone else. So usually in these events, you get to have the characters like drop into their world. They say, "Oh, why are we here? What are we doing here?" And then they decide to go back to their original world. Not with the Code Geass cast. So I actually found that pretty fun to see, and pretty different when it comes to other events. This one is available in the side stories. And of course, we can't talk about events without talking about Gintama's event. Ah, yes. I really enjoy Gintama a lot as a comedy, and once I saw that there's going to be a Gintama collab with Granblue, I thought, oh my god, two of my favorite things finally together in one game? Is this real? But yeah, as expected, it's usually it has this fourth wall breaking, that humor that Gintama has, and yes, the Neo Jet Armstrong Cyclone Cannon is still in here as well. But yeah, sadly this is not in the side stories yet, but hopefully one day it will be, because yeah, I definitely would recommend this event. And then, last but not least, we have the April Fool's collab of the last couple of years. Of last year and the one before. About Bobobo Bobobo. Bobobo Bobobo is pretty much an absurdist shonen manga. It's basically one of like the goofiest shonen manga out there. And it's all about a guy with an afro, and he has like nose hair in order to fight with. I'm not even scratching the surface on how weird Bobobo Bobobo is, and how weird both the April Fool's events that featured him and the rest of the cast is. So yeah, these are like this is like a pretty surreal collab, to say the least, and basically destroyed the fourth wall like several times, more than the Gintama one, and even smashed it to pieces. So yeah, definitely one for the books, to say the least. Alright. I guess that should be it when it comes to the story and events. There's quite a lot to talk about here, and there's quite even more to talk about here, but I tried to limit myself to 5 stories and to 5 crossover events. I tried to talk about it as much as I can. But anyway, let's move on, right? Let's move on to the next topic. Let me get this away. And let's move on to topics here. Let's go to part 4. One of the best things. Music. Oh yes, the music. We definitely want to talk a little bit about the music. And we're gonna play one song from the game that I like the most, right? I'm thinking it might be fine to play it on stream because it's originally from the game, right? So we're just gonna have the game up just in case. Here we go. You'll have the game up just in case. And I do want to play this track, which is, hold on, let me look for it. What was it called? Okay. Dark Silver Wings. And that is the theme of Bahamut. Let's see. Hold on for a moment. Let me get that song. I think it should be fun. Okay, so let's listen to this. That's done by the band by Stella Magna, who is the in-house band that is specifically used in order to compose most of the vocal music that is available in the game. So let's try listening to that. Let me see. Can I find it right now? Hold on. All right. I think we should be fine. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's see. Okay, I turned it off. Don't worry. You know, despite English not being their first language, they're really trying their best in order to speak the language. And they're doing it in a really good way. Yeah, you can see why they're a pretty amazing band. Damn. Well, this is probably not the game version of it, but this is probably like a remix that has been done by Stella Magna themselves. Like I mentioned, the in-house band that that Side Games has in order to make their vocal tracks. But this is just one song that basically shows how much amazing music that this game has. I would love to play another song, but I'm not sure. I'm sure it might be okay, but I want to post in one of my favorite songs from one of the events from before. Hold on, let me look for it. It should be from this year's event, I believe. And I believe it's called. Let me type this. Where is it? Here we go. It's the main theme for And You. And it's for the 9th anniversary story event. Hold on. Let's play it. 3, 2, 1, go. You really notice that within the years they managed to have like an entire choir singing for their anniversary event. That's how much they really care about their music. Sounds so epic. Yeah. It's like I said, every year they're trying to up the ante when it comes to their events, their anniversary events. And this is coming from this year's anniversary event. And hear the climax when it comes to the choir. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Like I said, throughout the years, they managed to evolve when it comes to their music, and it's not like their music isn't like good at all, because Nobuo Uematsu, the most popular Final Fantasy, or maybe the Final Fantasy composer, used to make music for most of the game's early life. And if you searched around for the older in-game themes, you definitely know that he put in all his work, all his effort, in order to make the soundtrack amazing. And now, almost 10 years later, the soundtrack is still even more amazing. I honestly feel like a lot of the music in the game is very memorable, is very amazing. And I would, again, like I said, I would take all day in order to talk about the game's music, but I don't want to take too long from, because we're almost going in 2 hours in. So I think next what we should be looking at is some of the character songs. Now, some character songs I cannot play on stream, but to I will link to a couple of them in the chat, and I will have like a nice little list of my favorites that are available on YouTube. They're not the full versions, the full 4 or 5 minute versions. It's like mostly like 2 minutes or 3 minutes that we could be able to listen to, compared to the full version, which is released as an album. So just a moment. All right, let's get rid of the game for a bit. Here we go. Let's get this. So let's start with Sandalphon's character song. Right? I muted the desktop so we couldn't hear it. Let's look. Sandalphon. Oh. Okay, here we go. And here's the promotional video. Let me post the link in the chat right about now. Go. Oops. Big. There we go. Because it's coming from an actual album, so you don't want to get into don't want to get into trouble with the side games themselves. So here's the link right now. Let me know if you see the link, and we can start listening to it together. This is Sandalphon's character theme, the PV version, not the full version. So yeah, let me know if you see that. Okay, I can see it. All right. So we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go. Now, this song came out in the last part of What Makes the Sky Blue, and it's like the ultimate explanation for the character, to say the least. Might see a little bit of spoilers there, but you'll understand it once you read the event. It's like an anime opening. The MV matches it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they made it's like a special PV in order to celebrate the conclusion of what makes the Sky Blue trilogy. So yeah, they decided to release that as a song, and of course, Sandalphon, his Seiyu himself, Kenichi Suzumura, is the one who sang the song. All right. So anyway, next up, let's see. Let's have one more song because we're going a little bit above time. Let's look at this. This is Vera's song. We're gonna end it with Vera because everyone loves Vera, and we want to listen to how Vera sings. And her voice actress, Asami Imai, is already an established singer. She voiced Chihaya from Idolmaster, so she's definitely a professional when it comes to singing. So, all right, let's try to get the song. Let's see. Here we go. No, not this one. Where is it? Ah, there we go. I'll post this in the chat right now. Where's the chat? There we go. There it is. You see if you can see the link? Okay, the link is there. All right, we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go. By the way, like the Sandalphon one, it's not the full version. Get to see that little fairy spirit. That's a Chevalier or Luminera. And she even mentions it in the lyrics. Okay, I think the video, despite being a lot shorter than the original song, pretty much explains about how Vera is as a character in a nutshell. and how she manages to like grow as a character at the very least, like from her beginnings, and how Chevalier or Luminera, as I mentioned earlier when we talked about Vera, is the one who actually saves her life and becomes an actual companion to her. But yeah, it's a pretty good song. And you know what? We'll listen to one more song. We'll listen to one more song and then we'll end the stream. And it's not this one. It's not this one. It's this one. Oh yeah. We're gonna have some nice buff Fundoshi men in order to end the stream. Hold on. Let me get you the song. It's not the full version, sadly, but at the very least, you will get some very manly men in their very amazing Fundoshi. Here we go. Oh wow! Oh yes! Yeah, look at these absolute units. All right, do you see the link? By the way, I absolutely love this song. By the way, yeah, look at these absolute units. It's not the full song, but you know, at least we have an MV. All right, we're gonna start with 3, 2, 1, go. So yeah. That kind of reminds me of Keiji Fujiwara, who passed away a few years ago. It's a shame. Look at all the sea life that's jumping. I love this song. I love this goddamn song. Yeah, this is truly the ultimate manly man song. It makes you, and thankfully it was back, and that was definitely something. It certainly is. And thankfully it soars as theme in Granblue Versus, without lyrics, of course, but at least, you know, he's part of the Fundoshi crew. So they have to have this song for him. But yeah, with that, I think that should be all for today. That should be all for today's episode of inSAIght. Well, I hope I managed to give you a decent insight of how Granblue is and what I like about Granblue, and if it actually makes you interested in playing the game or experiencing the franchise, that's great. I'm glad that you're enjoying the game as much as I do, hopefully. But yeah, I think that should be it. I was hopefully expecting that there's going to be like contributions from other people when it comes to the when it comes to having other people's experiences, but it seems like everyone is a little busy, so I understand that. I guess I'll just focus it on just basic Zatsudans from my side at the very least. Maybe in the future, like I said for the Vocaloid one, we will revisit the topic because, you know, I still have more characters to talk about. I still have more music to talk about. And yeah, there's definitely still a lot to talk about Granblue. This is just scratching the surface. But yeah, maybe in the future, we'll probably check it out again. Actually considering adding one more gacha under my belt. Well, if you want to add it to your list of gacha games, do that right after the 24th of this month, because hopefully that's where the roulette is going to start, and that's where you get those lovely, lovely free rolls, and you get those lovely, lovely free items that the Granblue Fest streams usually give. So I would suggest to actually make your account a little bit earlier than the usual. Yeah, make your account a little bit earlier so that once the Granblue Fest event happens, and so you can get all the free stuff before you manage to log in with your new account. Anyway, I think that should be all for now. Once again, thank you all for watching, be it live or via the archives. I am not sure if I'm going to stream tomorrow. Maybe I will stream tomorrow because I have a day off as well, no work. So maybe I will stream tomorrow. Maybe I'll stream some Granblue versus Rising again. We'll make it a whole weekend of GBF. You're going to see a whole lot of Rising on the stream, but I'm not going to forget other games as well, like Street Fighter 6 and Holo Parade. I did grind for both of them, and we're going to actually move a little bit forward when it comes to both games, so I'm fairly excited for that. And definitely we're going to see like a new game or a new visual novel for next week. We shall see. I'll try to think up of a schedule in either today or tomorrow. And yeah, like I said, maybe tomorrow there might be a Granblue versus stream, maybe in the morning, maybe in the night. I will let you know on Twitter or on the YouTube community post, but mostly on Twitter. All right, I'll see you guys soon, and thank you all for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.